Hello everybody, this is Mr. Basil, and let's get to it. So welcome to another set of video notes. This is on Learning Target 5.4. I'm just calling this at the meats level, even though it's, everything on 5.4 is really just about balancing chemical equations. So in the previous video, I kind of introduced the idea of balancing chemical equations to you, and in this video, I'm just going to give you tips and tricks for balancing chemical equations. I'm not going to start all the way at the beginning, so if you're not sure how to balance an equation, or say count how many atoms or molecules are within a chemical equation, go back and watch an earlier video. But this one's just about tips and tricks of balancing chemical equations. And so I've got 3 examples here, and for each example I'm going to introduce a new tip or trick. So if we were going to do this equation, first we'd start off by writing down the stuff that's in this, so CuAg, and then this is where we're going to split from before. So typically I would say, okay, and then just do N's and O's, but you may notice that there is an NO3 here and an NO3 there. So this is what the first trick is going to be. We're just going to do NO3. We're going to treat that as one unit, because if you notice, there's one NO3 here, and on the right hand side there are 2 NO3s. So if we can see a polyatomic that's on the left side and on the right side in the same format, then we can treat it like it's one thing. So I'm just going to make a note off to the side saying just that. Let's tip number 1. So if there's a polyatomic ion present on both sides in the same form, treat it like it's one thing. So here's what that looks like. So on the left hand side I've got 1 copper and 1 silver. Be careful, this 3 only applies to the O, it doesn't apply to everything that comes after. And then I have one NO3. Okay, because again, we're just treating this like it's one unit. Then on the right hand side, I've got 1 copper, I've got 1 silver, and 2 nitrates. Okay, because again, this 2 just applies to the nitrate. Okay, now we just have to balance. So I see I need more nitrates on the left, so I'm just going to put a 2 here. And when you put a coefficient there, don't forget to come back down and then change this to the new thing. Okay, and then this is an example of you change one thing, you change multiples. So I now have 2 silvers and 2 nitrates, and now my silvers are not balanced. So now I have to go to the right hand side and I see, oh, okay, there's a silver there, so I can put a 2 there. 2 times 1 gets me my 2, and bam, 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 I'm all balanced up and I'm good to go, ready to move on to the next part. This problem was much easier when I was just looking at it that way. Alright, next one. So, once again, I've got Ca, I've got H, and I've got O. Now, this is how we typically approach this, but kind of going off of that last one, you see that I've got an OH on the right hand side, but I don't see an OH on the left hand side. I know that it's going to be a lot easier if I can treat OH as one unit. So this happens sometimes. I wouldn't say a lot, but sometimes you've got water on one side and an OH group on the other. And so what you can do is you can rewrite water like this, HOH. It's the same formula. I have 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen, but now I can see that, oh look, I've got an OH here and I've got an OH there. So I can treat that like it's one thing, even though it's H2O, I'm going to treat OH like it's one separate thing. And so I'm going to add in another piece here, OH. Because now I really have 3 pieces. I've got the H's that I need to balance, I've got the OH's that I need to balance, and I've got the CA's that I need to balance. Okay, so let's look at it this way and see how it goes. But before we do that, let's make a note off to the side. So tip number 2. So once again, tip number 2, if H2O is on one side and there's an OH group on the other, treat H2O as HOH. Okay, so now let's do this. Let's go purple. So Ca, I've got 1 on the left, I've got 1 H, and I've got 1 OH. Now, again, it's weird to think about because I've got an H here and an H there, but this OH is part of the is part of the OH group. So that's why I'm not seeing I have 2 hydrogens on the left. Okay. Then on the right hand side, I've got 1 Ca. I've got 2 OHs because this 2 tells me I've got 2 of these. And then I have 2 H's because this 2 tells me I have 2 H's. Okay. Now, oh, this seems pretty easy now, doesn't it? Now all that I have to do is just put a 2 here, because I got to get the H and the OH back on track. So then that changes my H's to 2 and my OH's to 2 as well, and I'm balanced. So really all that I needed was a 2 in front of the water, and that was it. So nice, that was good. All right, one last one. Okay, so here I've got F, E, O, and C. And now I'm looking here and I don't see any polyatomics. I don't see any way that I can rewrite this. So I think that we're just gonna have to approach this one as is. But I do notice that I've got C and Fe by themselves, which is nice because if I put a number in front of carbon, that's not gonna throw off anything else. The same for iron. If I put a 4 there, that's only gonna change the iron. So when you have elemental species or pieces that are just by themselves, we're going to save those for last. Let's make that an official rule. Or a tip. You have parts of them by themselves or elemental. Now I'm not going to say that this always works, but typically if you just save those for last and worry about the other things first, it'll make your life a little bit easier because you're not going to throw yourself back to the beginning or throw yourself off in the middle of the problem. Alright, so Fe, 1 on the left, oxygen 1 on the left, and carbon 1 on the left. On the right hand side I've got 1 iron, 2 oxygens, and 1 carbon. Okay, so again I'm going to leave Fe and C alone. I mean they're already balanced, but let's just go ahead and see what we can do here. So if I put a 2 here, Fe goes away, change that to a 2, but that also changes the oxygen to a 2. Okay, and then Fe, cross that one off. Well, I gotta put the 2 there first. And then there we go. Okay, so there we go. I left the iron for last. I mean, I didn't really need to leave it for last because it was already balanced, but just another example of that. And hopefully those tips were helpful, and you'll be able to use those in the future. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.